Hello and fuck cape shit. Welcome to another Shittywebcomics Weekly, brought to you by our Subscribe Star backers. Donate to our Subscribe Star. Donate the monetary equivalent of a manual typewriter for your only hope for a future. Find out the truth that nobody else wants you to hear. You can
Hello,
hear,
fuck shit, and then fuck cape shit some more. Fuck
and,
cape shit and fuck cape
and
shit.
then also hello and fuck cape shit. But you can find out about it on Shitty Webcomics now or on Kiwi Farms in 5 years, if ever. So, that's a good incentive to donate to our Subscribe Star. The people who donate to our Subscribe Star are way ahead of the curve. Are you?
If you don't donate to our subscribe star, fuck you. It's if you don't smoke Tarleton's.
Tarleton's, fuck you. And also, Carl's Jr., fuck you, I'm eating. Just jumping in as usual. From about a week ago, at this time of recording, people making fun of one of these recent Joker appearances in a comic that I think is actually from a few years ago. I don't know though, but
It depends on which one. If you talk about the Red Skull one, I think that one goes back to like either the 80s or 90s.
No, that's different, entirely different. But here's somebody saying, "I may be a total." The sort of quoting. Let me just read the actual panel. It's a panel of the Joker saying, "I'm American. I fucking hate," or blank, expletive word, hate Nazis. I'm a homicidal maniac, not a traitorous bigot. And so the tweet says, "I may be a total sociopathic murderer who tortured kids and effectively lobotomized them and nuked a city, but at least I'm not racist." Somebody quote tweets.
Which is, again, also, this is important. It's another good way of giving an example of how racists are now automatically, by default, the good guys.
Yeah, and also somehow magically considered the worst thing ever when clearly it's not. Not only that, but as studies have shown, racism is actually innate in every living creature, not just human beings. So, in-group preference, that kind of thing. Anyways, somebody quote tweets and adds. Also, Joker, after one big payout, here's Joker saying, "It's a great honor for me to be here tonight. I'm proud to speak for the great Islamic Republic of Iran." Why is the Joker doing that? But this one's from the 80s, certainly. Or at least, about the 80s. Here's another one that I think is from the 80s or early 90s. This one maybe looks a little more early 90s, but this was like Marvel versus DC. So Joker is saying, "That's not just some crazy disguise. I've been working with a Nazi." And Red Skull from Marvel says, "Of course, why are you so upset, Joker? From what I've read of your exploits, it seems you would make a superb Nazi," which, to be honest, pretty true.
Can imagine a Joker being totally into Nazism, maybe even clown world Nazism, maybe dressing up like a clown. Oh, wait, he's the Joker. He already does that.
Just for the troll of it. But Joker says the mask must be cutting off oxygen to your brain. I may be a criminal lunatic, but I'm an American criminal lunatic. Keep back, boys. This creep is mine. And Red Skull says, "How unfortunate, such misplaced patriotism." It's kind of like just a goof. Like, you would kind of expect Joker to, because Joker is evil. This is not exactly. This is an example of not really Joker being like, "I may be a murderer, but I'm not a Nazi." He's still a bad guy. They're both the bad guys who are against each other. Instead of, well, at least Joker's not racist, as if to say Joker could be a good guy. Anyways, so that reminded me. I think it was Clumser who actually posted this one in our Discord, the Joker versus Red Skull, just because.
Well, I remember seeing that one a long time ago too. I know that was posted to our blog a long time ago.
Yeah. But here's this other one that, it sort of was reminiscent of the accidentally based Red Skull, which is also unrelated to any of this, but it's you count the panels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 panels, tons of dialogue, but it all fits. So it's kind of interesting. You look at modern comics, and a lot of them are spaced out, which I'm for, but the economy of the dialogue in this is pretty decent.
Well, most especially, it was a point I think I was making in the Discord, is if you're going to fucking spend that many panels and that many text boxes trying to, say something, it better be really interesting, really unique, something that nobody's seen before.
Yeah, which in this case, yeah, pretty much, or it better tell a lot of story on one page, which this doesn't tell a lot of story, but kind of interesting. I will read it. Now, this is
a very unique take.
Yeah.
It's a unique viewpoint.
Well, unique for American cape shit, of course. It is still the villain. Now, I will reiterate, of course, this is Red Skull, the bad guy, saying this. He says, "We grow in number each time I visit. Thank you, my friends, for you." I've just come from Europe, my homeland, in fact. And do you know what I saw there? An invading army. These so-called refugees. Millions of them marching across the continent, bringing their fanatical beliefs and their crime with them. They attack our women and bomb our cities. And how do our leaders respond? They push them back. Wow, this is interesting. Maybe this Red Skull guy... Could the Red Skull guy be onto something? But he says, do they push them back and enforce the borders, as is our sovereign duty? No, of course not. They say, here, take our food, take our shelter, take our way of life, and then take our lives. Despicable. It's so good to be here, where some men still know how to fight. This is still a lot of dialogue, flowery, but I think that's, in a way, that's of course the point. It's the villain being perhaps a bit dramatic.
But it's him like trying to win over people.
Yes, being dramatic to win over people in a way. He continued. I will read all of this. He says, "When I was a young man, there was a great war, and our two countries did not see eye to eye. But all the sides, they agreed on certain things: the fundamental responsibilities of a nation, protecting the land through strength, preserving the heritage, and wow, wait." Maybe Captain America's the real Nazi. Wow. Preserving the heritage and culture of the people, offering them opportunity. Now, it looks like somebody went to some Nazi board, copied and pasted all the stuff, and took it, wrote it as dialogue into the comic. Somebody who maybe you would almost be forgiven for thinking that the writer has at least some sympathy for the viewpoint. Maybe not in agreement, but at least some sympathy and understanding of where the viewpoint even comes from. To write this kind of stuff, you have to have some understanding of at least where the viewpoint comes from. Because this is, again, accidentally based, as people say. It's one of the best defenses of fascism, in a way. Preserving the heritage and culture of the people, offering them opportunity. Now look at the world today. Look here at the dead husk that was these United States. How the mighty have fallen. Who is protected, I ask you? On my flight, I was briefed about these brave patriots fighting the government's illegal claims to the land. Who does the land belong to, if not the people? This is who your government sees as the transgressors. What about the criminal trespassers who make a mockery of your borders? No, they are protected, of course. But that is only the beginning. Your entire culture is under siege. Your principles, your country, founded on lost in the name of tolerance. Well, your religion, your beliefs.
During the Obama era too.
Yeah, just about at least. Yeah, I think this did predate Trump being elected, and I think it was also possible this is sort of written as the Trump voter viewpoint.
Yeah, this might have been 2015 or 2016.
But anyways, he says, who benefits from the vultures feasting? And the bankers who stole your... Bankers, you say, stole your homes out from under you, and the politicians they purchased. Let them call you what they will. I know what you truly are, the beginning of a revolution. The first to see the collapse of the old garden, the road to something glorious, the glory of Hydra. Oh, Hydra. Oh, is that what this was about? Hydra, okay. Wait, this is a superhero comic? Hold on a second.
Superhero. What kind of superhero would fight against this?
Yeah, I almost forgot. Now, to wrap up, just real quick, and there will sort of be sort of continued in the following episodes, but also at the same time, if you want to know more, our subscribe star is always there. But
about stuff like this on our fucking Discord a lot.
Yeah, our Discord, but also our Subscribe Star is the best place to go find videos. It's the best place to just support us. To be honest, that's really what the Subscribe Star is. It's almost like a tip jar and just supporting us. But you also get a bunch of videos. But just to wrap up, What If, which I didn't, when I first saw this, I didn't know What If was a series by Marvel. Not necessarily, not specifically. It was the literal fan fiction within the fan fiction. It was like, what if Iron Man didn't build a suit?
That's the funny thing about What If is like, oh, we don't want to mess with the fucking established canon of the comics, so we'll make this What If series so that we can get around that. And then in the actual regular series, it's like, oh, and then they travel to the multiverse to find a clone of such and such so that they can fucking make another... So they can bring
an evil clone of Wolverine has taken over the entire planet because he's unkillable. So now he has people worshiping him as a god, and it's like, how is this different from What If though? You're just traveling to the What If universe.
This is worse than What If. At least the What If stories seem to have actual gravity.
They have stakes.
Like there's an actual end point to the story.
That I think that was another reason why people like the Marvel Zombies thing, because there were actual... Well, it was also taking the entire Marvel universe and basically throwing it in the garbage for a joke, which was funny. It was kind of fun to read the first Marvel Zombies, and then they kept beating it to death, of course.
I had no idea it was that old. Marvel Zombies, the whole point of Marvel Zombies is we're tired of Marvel comics.
Yeah, we're tired of the established continuity that's supposed to just go on forever and ever and ever. But anyways, completely sidetracked though from what if Marvel Comics had balls and it's Captain America basically punching either a Muslim terrorist or specifically Osama bin Laden. But this is one of the Bosch Faustin things that he made about Islam and Muslims and all that kind of delightful stuff. But it is funny that you could say it's too on the nose or too blatant, but at the same time, it is a take on Captain America when he punched Hitler.
Isn't this the same thing, though, that a lot of these fucking people who claim to love old school Marvel say they want?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he punched out Hitler.
But then they say that they don't want it. But, they Hitler, say that the comics shouldn't have politics. So it's a complete everything, like Richard C. Meyer specifically in particular, completely just contradicting himself, and everyone who was sort of parroting his idiot viewpoint contradicting themselves as well, saying that comics shouldn't have politics, but then they should go back to the times when comics had politics in them, including especially the X-Men, of course, but it depends on how far back you go. But any time you go back, there was blatant politics in comics.
I mean, the simple fact is, you can. There's also people can say anything is political, everything is political, which is definitely not true, or all art is political, which is also not true.
But all art is still colored by the experiences and viewpoints of the creator.
The point is, why are we fucking trying to say you can't do this or you have to do this?
Yeah.
If you ever say this, you're not being an artist.
Yeah, you're not really in favor of free. You're not in favor of free speech. You're not in favor of free creation. You're not in favor of creation. But that's the thing, is that a lot of these people, they say that comics are entirely a business instead of an art form that is a commodity as well, which I don't know, a lot of people just can't seem to even keep the idea straight. But I just think it's funny that for some reason Bosch Faustin is the kind of guy who, like, even if you don't like his stuff, he's still the kind of guy who was putting his money where his mouth is about taking a stance about the kind of comics that he wanted to see. He was making the kinds of comics that he wanted to see, and that he thought that comics should be doing. And so he made his own.
Look at fucking Richard. Compare him to Richard C. Meyer, who fucking he was asked to fucking cover Pigman.
Yeah, he was asked to at least acknowledge its existence, and Richard got pissed off because I think he understood that Pigman and Bosch Faustin was showing him up. That was the real concern.
They were doing they had already. This is going back years and years. They had already been doing the thing he says he wanted.
Yeah. I specifically remember from when I watched Richard's videos all the time. Richard was talking about how, they were the modern cape shit was, and of course he would never say cape shit, but the modern cape shit was just fighting like silly imaginary fantasy monsters, and he was like, there are many real life bad guys that they could be going after. And it's like, yeah, like in the Bosch Faustin comics. And then when that gets brought up, Richard would get awkwardly quiet because he didn't really believe in any of that shit. And that's not my opinion. People who know Richard personally confirmed that. And it's like, yeah, Richard doesn't actually believe that stuff. He was just saying that for attention, which is all that, all of Comicsgate ever had been. That's why Comicsgate had plenty of opportunity to at least promote or support Bosch Faustin, even if they didn't like him. Or his comics or whatever.
That's the thing. That was a real telling thing for me. As soon as I saw that, it's like, what is he? He's either stupid or he's lying.
Yeah,
and it turned out to be both.
Yeah, Richard was indeed both, proven to be both. But he also had, as it turned out, he had intense resentment of Bosch Faustin, and to this day I still don't even really know why.
Childish, maybe even feminine resentment.
Yeah, but I remember after finally being pressed enough to acknowledge any of the stuff, Richard apparently said that Pigman was puerile, even though, as he also admitted, he didn't read any of it. And people were saying, no, it's not puerile. It's actually a pretty decent comic. It's interesting. It's insightful. We had reviewed it. We had talked about it.
That is a very important point to make. It's not puerile.
And if you
actually have read it, it's very thoughtful.
It is called. That's the thing. The aspect of that, though, it is called Pigman. Bosch Faustin's superhero comic is called Pigman, but it's all about way more than that, and there's a satirical end to that. There's a satirical aspect. There's a tongue-in-cheek acknowledgement within the comic. The comic within the comic is Pigman. The actual comic is called The Infidel, featuring Pigman, essentially. Pigman is the comic that's made by the main character, the self-insert, if you will, of the comic, who describes himself as a recovered Muslim and says that, that he wants to make a comic where Islam is the enemy, and that he wants to make a hero that represents the antithesis of Muslim terrorists. And so it's a guy who wears pig skin as a suit. So it's kind of funny, kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of silly in the comic itself, but then the story about the creator who makes Pigman, that's what the comic is really about, is there's also satirical aspects of that, but it's also about the concept of sort of coming to terms with having been a Muslim formerly and being an apostate.
Yeah, and how Muslims treat apostates.
And the concept of that, and the sort of understanding from within about that. So, and that was very interesting, and Richard just wrote it off as saying it was puerile without even talking about it. And it's like,
And
this is kind of your job, though. It's your
loves,
job to, people pay you to read and review and talk about comics and talk about the culture war and the culture and the politics around the comics, and you're actively choosing to say out loud that you're not going to.
saying the quiet part out loud. Yeah,
Yes.
this is also, keep in mind, Richard, he hates Berserk, he loves the Star Wars prequels, and he loves Gods of Egypt.
I don't think you can even use Gods of Egypt against him, because at this point, Gods of Egypt is probably one of the high points of the things that he does like. He also liked Star Trek Discovery, he said.
That doesn't surprise me. He's
No.
a retard.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even his own fans were like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing what Richard does support. So, in a way, you don't really want Richard taking your side. You don't want Richard having your back.
He likes something that's actually good. It's entirely on accident. And when I look at his entire career and all the stuff he used to talk about, it's really clear.
Well, yeah, that's one of the most important things, is that you read Pigman in any way. You're just the first volume, whatever, just some of it. You can see there's thought put into it. There's introspection. There's insight. You read something like Jawbreaker's Lost Souls, though, and it's completely empty. It's devoid of any purpose or meaning.
Soulless.
Yeah, unironically, it's utterly soulless. The characters don't have, they not only don't have any personality, they don't have any distinction between each other. They don't have a history. It was his first book, and you see all these characters show up, and none of them have a story. You don't find out, over like 70 pages, you don't learn a single thing about a single one of the characters in the book.
That was very telling also. That was like the final, that was the final...
No person who likes comics, no person who actually likes comics in any way for real liked Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. People who pretend, fake people who pretend to like comics for internet attention.
They do a performative declaration of support for it.
Yeah, empty, hollow support.
Enjoy it, because it's basically there for no reason. It exists for no reason.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a good sum up of just some general points. There's a lot more. If you want to hear a lot more about this kind of thing, our Subscribestar has way more in-depth stuff about everything.
Subscribestar is comparatively cheap. You don't even have to give us the cost of a manual typewriter.
Yeah, it's not actually the cost of a manual typewriter, but it is your only hope for a salvation and for a future. That's not even just showmanship or fucking promotional bullshit. That's unironically true. So yeah, donate to our Subscribestar, become a pig. But for everyone else, should have listened to Shitty Webcomics.